Welcome to Spirit Healer, a Hearthstone Mercenaries Podcast. Your resting point between quests. Let's join our hosts as we talk about this week's events in Hearthstone Mercenaries.
Welcome to Spirit Healer, a Hearthstone Mercenaries Podcast, a podcast focused on taking you through Mercenaries news, updates, and weekly topics to keep you at the top of your Mercenaries game. I'm dragonrider, joined as always by my fellow hosts Cinder and Siimba, and oh boy, gentlemen, do we have a packed show tonight.
Yeah. Coming in hot.
Yeah.
Pretty. I'm hopping mad, and I'm ready to go Howard Beale on this microphone. But I think let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about the changes to the mercs and all that fun stuff before we get into the nitty gritty, because I want to at least give people a chance to tune into that if they choose to.
Yeah,
you heard me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be there, but there are a ton of cool changes. Like actually a ton this time.
Yeah. So they released, right. We got the big expansion announcement and all of that. Which the only thing I guess for the announcement itself relative to Mercenaries would be that if you are looking at getting the mega bundle, they are now including Mercenaries, a little bit of Mercenary stuff in that bundle. So you can get 5 Mercenaries packs and a Mercenaries legendary that you'll be able to use. Like if you were to pre-purchase tomorrow, you get those immediately when you log into game. So, that's something that relates if you want those. But yeah, I loved this in the patch notes that came with all of that. It says, several mercenaries have been buffed. And I went, okay. And then I started scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I was like, what? There's 11 mercenaries. And some of them have multiple changes. Several mercenaries. 11. I feel like that's more than several.
More than 2, less than 51.
Yeah.
56.
Well, yes, quite a bit. So let's go through these. We'll start with Carrielle Robe. So before she had 10 attack and 67 health at the level 30 stats, and now she has 10 attack and 73 health. So they added 6 more health onto her?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Good, bad? What do you guys think?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I
always felt like
her.
Buffed. Yeah, 67 felt a little light. I mean, she does have the self heal with that first death blow, but 67 is a low cap for a protector to start with. I feel like 73 seems good. I mean, just play with it and see, but yeah, seems fine.
Yeah, it definitely, especially early on, I feel like protectors were honestly one of the things that kind of felt slightly weak, at least initially. So it looks like the first several are protectors. So let's go in Cornelius Rome, the other Rome now. A couple changes here. Hold the front. The old was 4 speed and cooldown 1. And now it is speed 2, cooldown 0. Oh, okay. That feels like a big jump.
That is a big jump. I think, might as well change it as large as possible right now, right? And then you can do tweaks at the end instead of having to tweak it a tiny bit every week. Just go all in with a bunch of big changes, and if something's broken, they can fix it from there.
I mean, any taunt ability kind of is awkward to use when it's got a cooldown 1.
Yeah.
So having the cooldown 0 definitely helps, and getting speed 2 to get ahead of almost every attack in the meta also pretty important. But Hold the Front also has that adjacent heal, which I think why it was initially a cooldown effect. So being able to get that heal going, on demand, that seems like it'd be pretty significant. I'd be interested to see what effect that has on Cornelius's usage.
Yeah, definitely kind of interesting because the taunt having no cooldown makes sense, but yeah, then it's the healing is where that factors in. So it not having a cooldown and you being able to potentially restore health to adjacent characters quickly every turn could make a difference. We'll see. But the other one is that third ability, Blessing of Sacrifice. And before, it was at the rank 5 level, it was a speed 3, and now at the rank 5, it's a speed 2. So again, a little bit faster. It still has that cooldown, but I'm curious. They're and even just scrolling, we're going to keep talking about these, but there's a lot of speed increases.
Mm-hmm.
Speed increasing makes sense though, because all of the best mercenaries were speed manipulators. So you know, if something's at 4 and it gets dropped by 2, speed 6, it's not going before anything. Like I don't care what it is. 6 is just so slow. The only things slower than that are like Velen, you know, the 9 speed stuff, or like Rag's 10 speed.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how people start shifting a little bit and using other things. Overall, though, like, before we get into the next one, I love the fact that they chose to go with buffs to what they maybe felt like they could bring up in standing instead of doing nerfs. I feel like over the years, Blizzard has tended to go towards nerfs first. And I know even we've talked about it on the show, like, if they nerf stuff, is there going to be some sort of like compensation or reimbursement? How are they going to handle that for mercenaries? But instead, they just said, you know what? We're just going to buff some stuff instead. And I feel like I really like that choice. So,
and I think I heard that somewhere that was kind of the philosophy for mercenaries to buff first instead of nerf. Which, I mean, I guess, you know, it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. But yeah, like nerfs just feel bad. So in this case, you have when you're buffing stuff, it's like, oh, I really liked this character. Now, you know, they're better, so maybe I'll get more play out of them. So yeah, plus you can always adjust, like you said, you can always adjust down if it was too much. So yeah, like this is I think it's a good philosophy.
All right, going into our next one, Grommash. Another couple of changes here. The first one, Staggering Slam, which is the second ability. That deals 10 damage. Well, at 5, it deals 10 to an enemy, and its next ability is 6 slower. That's what mine says. So, the old, it said, was speed of 4, and now it's a speed of 2. So again, increasing, so you can get that off really early and start targeting a specific mercenary on the other side, and decreasing that next ability for that enemy mercenary.
That's a really cool one. Proc Samuro now.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, big orc team energy there. I like that. I mean, it was, you could already do the speed tie at speed 4, but speed 2 gives you a little more room in case you get modified by something else on the board. But yeah, like Grommash just in general was so slow to use. He was tough to use just because of that. And I know we're about to mention the Battle Fury as well, but like, yeah, like a speed modifying ability that has a natural speed of 2 is pretty good.
Yes. Well, yeah, speaking of that next, so the other one is Battle Fury, which is the third ability, which gives attack, you know, it gains attack and then attacks an enemy and one of its neighbors. It used to be speed 9 with that one turn cooldown, and now it's a speed 6. They increased it by 3 speed. I mean, it still has the cooldown, but that feels like such a big jump. And I feel like makes it a little bit more good feeling, I guess is like the only way. Because when I've tried to use Grommash, I'm like, man, it's so slow. Like, I never want to use that ability because it just takes forever.
Yeah, it's definitely more middle of the road now. Like, if it gets slowed, it's not over 10. And when it gets, you know, sped up by like a Karen, it might attack, you know, faster than, I guess, a 5, depending on how the tie works there.
And I think the concern probably with it being at speed 9 was just that, you know, since it's getting an attack buff and attacking twice, it's a lot. But I mean, speed 9, it's almost unusable. So a moderate speed 6 seems like a more reasonable play there.
Yeah. All right. The next one, we're moving into Jaraxxus. And again, another couple of changes. We've got the first one is Fist of Jaraxxus, which at rank 5, it used to be speed 6 and deal 12 damage to a random enemy. Repeat for each of your other demons. And now it is a speed 4, so 2 speed faster, and deals 15 instead of 12 to a random enemy, and repeat for each of your other demons.
I think this one really has to be talked about almost with the second change to Fel Infernal, if you want to hit that one real quick.
Yep. So Fel Infernal, which these are again the second and third abilities. Fel Infernal, the third one, used to be speed 5 with a cooldown of 1 and is now a speed 4, no cooldown.
Yeah, because Fel Internal was difficult to use with a cooldown because the whole idea of Fist of Jaraxxus there is to try to fill your board with demons, and with a cooldown ability on the minion spawn, it gets tough. It's tough to get that going. So with zero cooldown, it's gonna be easier to play some mind games with Jaraxxus on whether or not you're gonna spawn on any given turn, and whether or not you can get a full board of demons to really get Fist of Jaraxxus moving. So yeah, this is a very interesting change. This might make a demon warband a little more practical for PvP. Maybe, we'll see.
You have any thoughts on Jaraxxus there, Siimba?
Not on Jaraxxus particularly. It's definitely an interesting change. I like the Fel Infernal cooldown to 0. You can get 4 mercs on the board. That works with not only Jaraxxus, but anything that has an effect that depends on how many mercenaries you have on the board. I do like the speed 4 specifically of the Fist of Jaraxxus, though, whether you have the Fel Infernal or not.
Yeah, lots of more like mid-game or like mid-speed tiers, it seemed like this 4 to 6 kind of range is definitely becoming a bit more popular now with a lot of these changes. So again, moving on to the next one, yet another red mercenary. There's so many. Why are there so many? Yeah. They were so weak, it feels like. But we've got Varian Wren. The third ability here, Retaliation, has a couple of changes. It looks like they removed the cooldown. It had a 1-turn cooldown. That's no longer there. And before, at rank 5, it read, after an enemy attacks this turn, attack it. And now the new rank 5 says, after an enemy attacks this turn, gain +5 attack and attack it. So increasing when and how effective that ability is, really removes the cooldown and gives attack now as well to it.
Yeah, I don't have the client open, and I probably should. What's the speed on Retaliation?
I'll look it up because that was about to be my exact question.
It's 2.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm looking through these as we talk about them in game. So, yeah, it's a 2 speed that now no longer has a cooldown. Yeah. So, I feel like we just talked about that with which one was it? With Cornelius. Right? That was the same thing. It was fast, or It was a slower thing, had the cooldown. Now again, they removed the cooldown, but still that 2 speed and no cooldown on it makes it really nice.
Yeah, and then the attack bonus too, because like Retaliation, and then Mr. Smite has a similar ability with what is it, Overboard, I think it's called, but these intercept abilities where they attack in retribution or retaliation, one might say, to an opposing attack or to opposing damage, which really it allows you to get a ton of value out of a merc that has its attack buffed, which this now does innately. So with it being cooldown 0, like there's no reason not to just spam this every turn against an attack heavy team. Like this seems really good.
I think it's insane. I know I didn't have a lot of thoughts about Jaraxxus, but this being speed 2 comboed with, say, Cornelius, right? So you can get heals every turn-ish. It also seems like a direct FU to Samuro. Not specifically. I know they're trying to balance everything, right? But like that's what it seems like, right? Because you were getting your 2-speed Virella, Blinding Luminance, and then you were having Samuro directly after that. Well, now Wren will run the Retaliation on 2, and then crack Samuro twice for free, +5 attack each time, and deal double damage to it, right?
Yeah, that's real good. Of course, then Samuro can just do his little illusory attackers. I can never remember the names of the abilities. The second ability, because then you're attacking the phantoms, right? As opposed to
mirror image.
Yeah.
As opposed
if it survives.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I mean that's a worry. But even if it attacks the mirror image, it still has +5 attack.
Yeah.
That's true. You still get the buff.
Yeah, I didn't think about it before, but that added attack specifically for critical hits makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, plus 10
And
damage per smack to face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a built-in escalating damage. It's not like plus X damage to certain damage type. It's just plus X damage to him. So just getting him off the board with an attack is just going to be that much more painful. So it seems real good.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. I think I still have Varian at level 1, but now I'm kind of like I kind of want to play him. Okay, well I think if I'm looking at this, I don't know if it's alphabetical order. Never mind. I was gonna say maybe it's all the protectors, but no, I think it's in alphabetical order. All right, well let's look at Illidan next. He is our next one. He is a fighter, and him and Old Merkai are getting a lot of changes. There's actually 3 changes here coming in for Illidan. So, first here, I didn't copy the, nope. Oh, it just doesn't have a name. That's why, because it's for him. Oh my gosh. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's not an ability.
I was like,
what
am I looking at? I was really confused. Okay, yes. Before, his stats were 9 attack and 69 health. Nice. At level 30. And now he has 12 attack and 74 health at level 30. And I think these are just leveled to 30, right? These aren't maxed. So you'll still get the +1, +5 if you haven't maxed out. Beyond this, this is just once you get it to level 30, these would be the stats on it. So 3 more attack, 5 more health. Seems good.
Seems good.
I like the attack.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's already in the client. I'm like, oh crap, he's already 12. I haven't used Illidan a whole bunch, so I don't have a good grip on this change. But yeah, that's significant. That's a really high attack stat.
Okay. Let me read through the other 2 changes here, and then we can talk about these. So the other couple of changes for Illidan are Blade Dance, which is actually the 3rd ability there. And it went from a 2-turn cooldown to now a 1-turn cooldown. It's still 10 speed, but you only have to wait 1 turn for it. But that's still a hefty speed to pay. And then the other change is actually the first equipment that we're going to talk about, and that's for Demon Shroud, which is the equipment. It's the 3rd slotted equipment that you get for completing task number 2. And so Demon Shroud, before it said take 5 less damage while attacking, and now it says take 10 less damage while attacking. I think that's at the maxed out, but yeah, wow.
Especially with the attack buff, it gives you a huge incentive to attack. I mean, you were attacking anyways, right? But the buff and attack, now it'll do 24 on a critical hit, and you'll take 10 less damage from them. So that's just, it's an interesting spread in the amount of damage you'll do more, as well as the amount of damage you'll take less.
Yeah, that definitely feels more in line with some of the other fighters, I feel like, because he seemed slightly weak to me in terms of okay, well, why do I want to, I guess I could be attacking, but it wasn't feeling as good. But yeah, these changes I feel like make a huge difference totaled. So I'm really curious to see how much more Illidan starts getting played.
Hopefully it's just super balanced across the board. Everything gets played more. 'Cause that's kind of what
that's the goal,
wanting, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because so many of these look fun. Even if they don't stick, even if the meta stays the same, I feel like we'll see them for at least a few weeks. People just trying to put cool stuff together simply because it's changed, right? It's like when something new comes out at your favorite bar or restaurant. You just go and try it because it's there, Yeah. So there's going to be some fun stuff to see.
Yeah, and I think I saw, it might have been on Twitter, but basically there was kind of the overall kind of just dev analysis looking at this. They're trying to make a lot of these changes to also, like you said, kind of bring up a lot of the play. And also, we can't necessarily completely control which mercenaries we get. Of course, we get the initial 8 mercenaries for completing the tutorial. But after that, you're a little bit at the mercy of pack openings or what coins you're able to find, if you can find enough coins for a specific merc to be able to craft it. So some people might not have all of the mercenaries, and if they only have mercenaries that might have been quote unquote weaker, then that kind of feels bad. So also them bringing a lot of these up, I think it's going to feel a lot easier for people to actually just use the mercenaries that they have in their collection and feel good with using those.
For sure.
All right. Next up, we have Mutinous. Yeah, I have a cute portrait. He's so cute. He's very curious about this little crystal he's holding.
You know what? I haven't even looked at that one yet. It's cute.
His little eyes looking around. Yeah. So a couple of changes to Mutinous. We have Scaly Taunt, which is that second ability there. And before, at rank 5, you would get Taunt, and this takes 3 less damage this turn. But now, at rank 5, you gain Taunt, and it takes 5 less damage per turn. And then the other one is the Iridescent Necklace, which is the first... Well, it's like the first slotted equipment piece. It's the one you get at level 30. And it used to be at rank 4. It was fully maxed. The Scaly Taunt makes this merc take 3 less damage this turn. And now it makes it take 3 less damage and is immune to critical damage this turn.
Dang.
That's huge.
Wow. Like that's the one that kind of made me pop when I was reading through these. Like that makes Scaly Taunt pretty good. Like, you know, he's a legitimate taunt in your fighter slot, in your green slot, you know? And that's such a cool thing for you know, for making like unusual comps, because like, yeah, of course he's a Murloc and he's gonna slot in well with other Murlocs, especially with Devour is such a cool ability. But you know, just being able to free up your protector to serve as more of a fighter, like, you know, you have stuff like Jaraxxus, Varian, Gruul that are just, you know, they don't have any taunt abilities. They don't have anything that encourages them to be attacked. So having Mutinous serve in the taunt position is going to open up some cool stuff, I think.
Yeah, it's a maximum of, I believe, like 16 health saved, right? Because it'll be 5 plus 3, and then since it can't be critically damaged, they wouldn't get the extra 8 off of that. I think my math could be wrong, but I think I know what I'm saying. And then it'd be really cool if you can like taunt that up and then play with like Carrielle Robe. If you can get that proc off, heal everything back up instead of being forced to use Carrielle as the taunt.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see this helping to make Murlocs a little bit more viable. And we've still got another Murloc coming up next, too. So very interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing the same math as you are, Siimba, with if you are using the Iridescent Necklace as your equipment piece, then yeah, you can get that 8 damage less. And then it would also be, you know, immune to the critical damage. So yeah, that sounds like the same math that I'm getting. But kind of interesting. It might make the Murlocs a little bit more stable, keep them in the game even slightly longer to try to push the damage that they want to be pushing. I haven't seen a ton of Murloc stuff, but maybe afterwards, maybe people will want to be playing them if they have them.
Yeah, I do. I definitely, I mean, I wanted to before anyway, but now it's just better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started leveling mine up. I got them to like anywhere between 15 and 17. And then I realized, I was like, I'm not going to be able to use these. So I just decided I'd put them off until later. Now seems like a good later.
Yeah. And I feel like when we're talking about this also, anybody that's listening, most of the time when we're saying how good or relevant they'll be or how much play they'll see, we're mostly talking about PvP, right? Like, you can pretty much use any kind of combination of stuff or whatever you have for PvE, at least for the most part. But when we're talking about the viability or how often we're going to see this, it's relating to PvP content.
Yeah, okay. If we need to do a specific like segment on how to beat PvE bosses or something like that, we can do that. Like if that's wanted. But I agree, like all of the how much are we gonna see them? That's PvP, because most of these changes aren't geared, I don't believe, towards PvE. Like right. Dragonrider was saying, you know, you can not necessarily take any comp, but pretty much any comp, right? Put anything together and find a bunch of cool ways to beat each boss. You know, you could take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different versions of 6 mercenaries in and beat the same boss over and over and over and over. It's kind of easy.
And we could definitely do that content, but like I also want to shout out some of the people who are already paving that path. Like I know Old Guardian specifically has already got a guide for like every heroic boss in Blackrock Mountain, which is pretty awesome.
That's nice.
You know, yeah, stuff like that is super needed because some of that stuff's super hard. So yeah, like we won't be the first to it, but we'll be glad to present it to you in audio format if that's your preferred way to get that content. Maybe we can have one of those folks as a guest. That might be a thing to do in the near future.
Absolutely, yes. And I think that that post came out too, like the day after we recorded last week, which we talked about PvE, and I was like, oh, the timing is so bad there, dang, because we definitely would have shouted that out and plugged that if that was like just perfect fitting for our topic last week. But that's all right. You know, that's the downfall sometimes of doing these recordings, is that sometimes we're just gonna miss out a little bit on that news, and we have to wait until next week to talk about it. But yeah, but there are definitely a ton. So again, let us know. We'll plug all of where you can find us and reach us at the end of the show. Give us feedback. Let us know what you want to hear. We'd love to hear it. Oh yeah. Like if you have a super cool piece of content, article, you know, maybe you're doing it on stream or something, let us know. I don't want to speak for everybody here, but I'm pretty sure we're pretty okay with boosting everybody else's content. Like let's all be happy, you know, Christmas land friend time in the content creation community, and it's always been that way with Hearthstone.
Yeah, no need to gatekeep when we all want the information anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. We're all in this together.
All in this. I've never seen that movie. Never mind. Onward.
Well, continuing with that, all in on this together, let's continue with the Murlocs and talk about Old Murkai. Yeah. And Old Murkai is one of the other two I mentioned earlier. We had Illidan had 3 different changes, and Old Murkai also has 3 different changes. So I'm going to read through these real quick. We've got Felfin Navigator, which is the second ability. And before, at rank 5, it read, give your other Murlocs +3/+5. And now it is give your other Murlocs +5/+5. Then we've got Giant Fin, which is the third ability that you get at level 15. And before, it summons a Murloc, right? A rushing Murloc. Before, at the rank 5, it was a 16/16. Now it is a 20/20. And then the third change is to the third slot equipment, which is the one you get for hitting level 30, Primordial Fin. And it was Giant Fin gains +8 attack before. And now Giant Fin gains +8 attack and Divine Shield. Divine Shield Murlocs are in Mercenaries. Let's go.
So this is actually really cool. Like before Bubble Wand, his first equipment was kind of like the only one that I felt was usable because it gave him Divine Shield when he used his first ability, Finvasion. But with Giant Fin getting Divine Shield off of the equipment there, like that's really big deal because now you're talking about making a minion who's a 28 attack but 20 health, meaning pretty easy to clear, you know, once he gets targeted by an attack, because he's on attack in the first round he gets created, right? So you make him first and he's got the Divine Shield, and that makes him that much more difficult. Now they actually have to focus down that minion if they don't want him cleared off the board. And that just changes the dynamic for Old Murkai as far as like creating minions, because that's his whole thing. Like just keep spamming out, you know, Felfin Navigators, Giant Fins, just, you know, keep churning out extra minions to increase the board pressure. So making that Divine Shield on Giant Fin, oof, man, what a big change.
It's awesome. I love it. Just make Giant Fin as giant as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Why not? And then I don't know if a ton of people were like trying to clear the Giant Fin. I don't know if this makes sense. So like sometimes when Giant Fin would come out, right, I would just look at it and be like, I'll eventually clear this with AoE or like it attacking into me, knowing that it could possibly have Divine Shield a turn after makes me like want to clear it Because if I don't clear it, then it's going to take either me 2 attacks or they're going to get a free 28 damage. So it's like, it's almost like it says gain plus 8 attack and Divine Shield and Taunt, sort of, depending on how you look at it. So I think that's really interesting as a way to swing the game. It sort of feels like, I don't know, if we're talking like FPS, it sort of feels like a grenade, right? Like you're zoning, trying to move the other team to do something very, very specific, and because they can't do anything, right? That's a whole attack. That's a whole attack taken just to get off a Divine Shield. And even if it's a caster, so they don't like lose any health, well, that caster attack is gone. It's awesome. There's so many uses for this.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about it too, I've noticed, even like in the PvE content, when you find like the passives or maybe the like the boons that give one of your mercs like Divine Shield, just having that Divine Shield to have to answer, like you were saying, is sometimes just so annoying, because then it also means you have to get through the Divine Shield plus all the health on it. And that's just like an extra created thing. It's like a token, right? It's not even one of the mercenaries that's part of the party. It's like an extra thing that you're having to like, okay, now I got to get through this Divine Shield. I got to take care of this. And because of the change to the Giant Fin itself, adding the health too, I feel like that's just that little bit more that's going to make it slightly out of range of some critical hits, even with those AoEs that you were talking about. So maybe.
Well, Giant Fin doesn't get critical, right? Because he's a neutral.
Is he?
Yeah, which is even worse. You can't crit him.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought he was still
I believe both Murlocs are. Both of the ones that you summon.
Oh.
Neutral.
I'm like 90% certain that they're neutral. Yeah.
I don't know why I never realized that. Okay, well, never mind what I said about the critical damage, but still.
But that just makes him that much tougher to get off the board. You're right.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, added health and the Divine Shield just to make it so awkward. And you're still just targeting down this extra thing that was created. I was like, oh, okay, well, now I want to answer that thing, but if you're attacking that, then you're leaving up their actual mercenaries instead of that giant fish that was created. All right, let's talk about the next one here. Rathorion? Is that I'm pretty sure that's how we're saying it.
Sure.
He is another fighter, so another green. Previously at the level 30, he was 9 attack and 76 health. And now at level 30, he is 11 attack and 76 health. So this one, no added health on it, and just 2 attack more, but just that slight little edge. And then the other change is to Hulking Overfiend, which is that second ability. And before, it was a Rush and Death Blow. This attacks the lowest health enemy. And now it's a Battle Cry, attack the lowest health enemy. Death Blow, attack the lowest health enemy.
Wait, did it have the Death Blow before? Yeah, I guess it did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now it's, instead of a Rush, at least that's what it was typed in, as in the notes. Before it was a Rush, and now it's the Battle Cry, so it can have 2 effects, right? The Battle Cry would attack, and then if it also gets a Death Blow, then it would attack the lowest health enemy again. So potentially 2 attacks there. It's kind of still the same, but...
Yeah, it sounds the same. It's hurting my brain trying to figure out what the difference of wording is here. Like, I'm trying to figure out why the Rush versus the Battle Cry would be different.
I don't know.
There's got to be some interaction that it affects. I'm just not thinking of it right now.
Yeah, not sure, but the 11 going up from 9 to 11 attack is kind of cool too. Just because Fell Command is his third ability, gives him extra attack, and if you're using the Soul Gem, it gives him a bunch of extra health too. So he's got a built-in escalating damage for his attacks, which is pretty cool. And being able to start at 11 instead of 9 makes a big difference when you start thinking about critical hits and stuff. So it's just be interesting to see if like Rathorion plus the Jaraxxus change plus Gul'dan's all the way at the bottom of the list here has got a minor change, but just seeing if like those Fel/Demon builds are going to be a little more viable now, which might be. We'll see.
Yeah. Right. Moving on to another fighter here with Ricara. One change to her. She's got a change to Orc Onslaught, which is that third ability. Before, it was a speed 7, and now it is reduced to a speed 5. And that's the one that deals some damage and repeat for each other orc that you control. So a little bit faster speed, still has a cooldown. You know, maybe helps if you're going for kind of that tribal build.
Yeah, help get a little damage out before getting wiped off the face of the earth. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Ricara saw very little play. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know, just a general speed up just to get them more relevant. You know, seems good.
Yeah, and I believe, if I remember correctly, Ricara is one of the 8 that you get initially, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
At least I got her initially, so I didn't question it. But yeah.
Yeah, because I think a couple of these, half of them, maybe half of the ones that you get at the beginning, all were part of this change, and Ricara was one of them. So, you know, helps a little bit with at least, again, those mercenaries that people are gonna have. Maybe that for like free to play players, this is kind of all they have. So, a little bit of change might be able to help them push a little bit further in a bounty or maybe something a little bit more effective. All right, going on to our next fighter, we have Scabs Cutterbutter. Got one change here. Before, Scabs was 8 attack and 69 health. Nice. At level 30.
Nice.
I'm required to say it every time.
Yes, every time.
Every time. And yes. And now at level 30, it's 10 attack and 72 health. So +2 attack, +3 health there at max level. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, he's a generally good, decent to good merc. So just getting a little buff there to get some more usage, I think.
All right. Another kind of just stat line change on our next caster, fighter, excuse me.
Fighter. Yeah.
Tyrion Fordring. Before, he was a 9 attack, 69 health. Nice. At level 30. And now the health stayed the same, but 3 more attack, which is pretty sweet. I really like this with the Judgment of Humility, which is the third ability that sets, I have it at 3, and it sets its attack to 1, and then you attack it. So extra health on that is pretty nice.
And I'm gonna guess, this is just a guess, but Tyrion might now be the only merc still with 69 health, and if I know Cora, that was probably on purpose. She was probably like, no, we gotta have at least one.
That's amazing.
Yes. I did not realize until reading through these how many were at 69 health before these changes. But yeah, I think it seems like a lot of the fighters got some added attack, which definitely feels pretty nice.
Yeah. Well,
it almost feels like it's yeah. It's weird though, because then like the protectors got added health, so then it's like, well, it's kind of just a wash between those, but
I mean, I think it speaks to how good casters were, you know, because they're casters, they're dealing their damage without any blowback, which fighter protector, that relationship was not true. You know, they have to, in order for most of them to get their damage in, they got to take damage back, which, you know, by increasing both the outgoing and the incoming damage cap for those two, it kind of brings them up to par with the casters, I think is the idea.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, speaking of casters, if I'm looking at this correctly, our last change here to Gul'dan's the only caster that got changed.
Casters were OP.
So, yep.
Listen, casters were so OP.
Yeah. Just a little. One change here, which is to Siphon Life, which is the third ability, and it just was before a speed 7, and now it's a speed 6. So deal some damage, restore some health to all friendly orcs and demons for 1 speed faster. Cool. Okay.
Okay.
Good talk. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
makes a little bit of sense. They kind of buffed some other, like you were saying, other demons and fell and that. So maybe throwing Gul'dan in one of those war bands. I love that, by the way. I'm still going to call them war bands.
Heck yeah.
You know, that cool. Okay. So you get a little bit of speed faster there. Hopefully you can, I don't know. It's still seemingly slow compared to what you might be fighting against, but maybe you can get a little bit of healing on some of your demons. But that's it.
I never know what to do with that. I never know what to do with that. Like, do you heal or do you do damage? I don't know if it heals enough for me to want to use the healing, if that makes sense. Like, obviously healing is good, but I want their mercenaries gone, and I feel like sometimes if I heal, they're just gonna get critical damaged out anyways, and then I like wasted damage. So I mean, I'm not saying this change is bad. I'm wondering if the damage / healing might have needed to be changed as opposed to the speed, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, and maybe that's what the idea was. Like okay, it's a healing effect that goes on 7. Maybe we should bring that down and make it a little more relevant.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was in that same line of thought with you, Siimba, too. Like, I'm interested that they changed the speed on it and not the amount of damage / healing that it does, but maybe again with the other changes of bringing some of those other demons and orcs and stuff up, then maybe that's kind of where they were balancing it, I guess, with the other things. And then like Gul'dan is, I don't know, Gul'dan's just kind of there. I guess.
I mean, he's good.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. But yeah, this had to be this is the kind of change where like they probably really agonized over this for a while before decided to make that tiny adjustment, because it had to be. There's some interaction they were mulling over, I'm sure, that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But is Siphon Life the one where you do damage and it heals automatically?
Let's take a look.
Yeah, please, because I think everything that I said was just irrelevant. I just had this epiphany. Hold on,
you were thinking of a different ability. Yeah. There is another ability that I know what you're thinking of. It's either damage or heal. But Siphon Life is do damage and
Death Coil. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less speed, more better. Got it. Heard.
Yeah, you deal the damage and then you restore that much health to all friendly orcs and demons. However much damage you did is what the restoring is.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Going to 6, that's a very good. That's very, very good. Yeah, I was thinking of Death Coil, because like sometimes I'm like, why waste the time using a 7-speed Death Coil to heal a little bit of health when I can just do damage? That's what I was talking about, but no. This is good. Siphon Life change good.
There's still some relevance there, because you're making a choice between Fellbolt and Rain of Destruction, which both just chuck out a ton of damage, as opposed to Siphon Life, which is significantly lower damage, but it adds you get that healing effect instead. So that choice still exists.
Yes. Well, there was a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Several changes. Yes, there were several changes and buffs. So we got through all those, but there definitely is still more to talk about. We definitely still want to touch on the Global Invitational Tournament. I have a little thing I want to plug because it's exciting news. But before we get to all of that, there definitely is some more kind of heavy, intense stuff that we really need to and want to talk about, because it is important and it is relevant. But I think I'm going to turn it over to Cinder to take the lead on it.
Okay, I was wondering if we were going to establish an order on this, because I'm either going to go first or last. It's because I'm I'm gonna go off here for a second. So I'm so glad that everybody got the good change discussion out first, because this is the difficult stuff. When Dawn and I were talking about making the podcast, it's like, Dawn, this is the thing. If I do this podcast with you, whenever there's something that needs to be addressed in the community, I want to be able to talk about that, because I don't want to have a voice and not be able to speak truth to power. And she was like, absolutely. So like, great, we're doing this podcast. So here we are. It's episode 6. We have something to talk about. It's been all over the Twitters and and other social forums. But if you didn't notice, there was an article that was dropped in the Wall Street Journal and is being mirrored in a couple of different places if you don't have a subscription. It basically describes through some pretty thorough investigative journalism that the Activision CEO, big honcho Bobby Kotick, whose name I'm sure you've heard, turns out that he has known about all of the problems with the sexual harassment and the gender pay disparities and the abuse that was happening inside of the company, especially towards female employees. He knew about all those things. He always knew about those things, and he did nothing about it. And it gets even worse when you read this article, because they had some conversation with people where Kotick was threatening people who said they were going to speak out against him. Like calling people, leaving voicemails, telling them that he was going to have them killed. Like, it's that bad. And the most sickening thing about this situation currently is that it seems to be that the board of directors at ABK, at Activision-Blizzard King, not only did they know about this, not only did they actually have a heads up that this article was going to drop today, they don't care. They support Bobby Kotick. They don't want to get rid of Bobby Kotick. And this all started back in July when all of these people started coming out and speaking about the rampant culture of abuse that was going on in ABK. And everyone said, okay, you got to clean out the C-suite. You gotta start with the top and just go all the way down. And everybody who's implicated in this, either doing it or doing nothing to stop it, needs to go. Kotick is still at the top, and it doesn't look like he's going anywhere anytime soon. And as the person at the top, you're responsible for what happens to the people who are in your care. The first and number one responsibility for an employer is to provide a safe place for people to work. And I don't mean like in a social justice sense. I mean safety, like so that people don't get hurt, so that people don't go home with broken bones and broken legs and contusions and concussions and things. But that also applies to violence. And abuse in the workplace is violence. Even if it's not like physically hitting someone, causing someone trauma is violence. And if you knew about it and you weren't stopping it, you are responsible. So Bobby Kotick and anyone else in that company who knew about it and tried to cover it up has to go. End of story. No protecting this guy. I know he makes the board a ton of money, and I know they love him because that's all that corporate boards care about. That's all that the shareholders care about, is whether or not the value of their stock goes up. I hate that. I really do. And the only way that they're going to push out Bobby Kotick is if it hits them in the checkbook. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to protest this. And this is such a difficult position because the Hearthstone team, they're just like one of the best. We know all these people. I did a podcast with Cora for years before she moved on to casting and eventually into development at Blizzard. We know Nick, Deck Tech. We know him personally. He's a friend of ours. We know Celestalon. She just got hired on as a community manager. We know Chalky's still up there. He was one of us. He was a competitive player playing alongside us at DreamHack. We know these people. And we know that Team 5, the Hearthstone team, is outside of this whole mess. Because I can tell you personally, if it was happening there, Cora would not have it, okay? She would be busting butts in a heartbeat. And it's so difficult because every time the Hearthstone team does something great, like the Horde versus Alliance, the Fractured and Alterac that just dropped today, here comes this other bullshit with Kotick just marring the whole thing. And it's so frustrating because I want to support Team 5. I want to be there for my friends. I want to be there to support the content that they're making. But ABK is making it really damn difficult to do that by continuing this sickening pattern of abuse and covering it up and just not caring. It has got to stop. And I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to protest. I don't even want you to protest necessarily. I don't want to tell you what to do. As a fan of Hearthstone and a consumer of Blizzard games, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to protest. I don't know how to write. I don't know what to write. I don't want to tell you what to write. but I know that the first thing you've got to do is be mad about it. You've got to be angry when you see these news, and you've got to let them know that you're angry. I'm angry. Be angry with me. That's all I got.
You want to pitch in, Siimba? I know you were kind of trying to get caught up after like hectic work days on all of the news, but I'm definitely curious to see what you have to say as well.
There was a lot. There was a lot to read. I mean, hell, there was a lot to even process just now, the last couple minutes listening. There was a lot going on. I mean, there's always a lot going on, right? There's a lot going on in life, in business, and things like that. But the biggest point out of that whole thing I got was if you know it's going on and you do nothing about it, because this doesn't just apply to things in the workplace or inequalities or, you know, racism or how we're treating women. Like, this applies to literally everything all the time. If you know it's going on and you do nothing about it, you're liable, you're responsible. If nothing else, you're aiding in the hard times, the crises, I don't even know if I said that right. Crises, doesn't matter. And so my feelings are close to the same. I didn't really know how upset I should be at the beginning. Because just I mean I did the thing where I was like, oh, I don't have enough information, I don't know what's going on, yada yada, this, that, and the other. Then I kind of sat there and I realized that it didn't really matter how much information I had or how much I had read or how much I had talked to other people. I was simply just also upset, and I don't know what I want to do. Because I've been playing Hearthstone, playing Overwatch, talking to people about everything Blizzard for, I guess for me, probably not as long as other people. I don't know, 6 years, 7 years now. And it feels like I've been accidentally supporting something wrong, but I don't just want to quit playing and supporting everything and everyone cold turkey, because it feels like not only would I be leaving a community that I love, but like leaving people out in the cold, especially if they don't want to do anything about Kotick, right? And it's like, okay, I'm out, right? And then I back out, and that's just, if nothing is done, that feels like one less voice. And so it has me going back and forth on what to do, what's right. Because I agree that, you know, we shouldn't tell people how to feel, but it's like, be mad, be upset, right? Like in a previous episode, I said, you know, safe space gaming, sort of. I mean, it was never as a joke, but kind of lightheartedly. But I truly believe that, like, spaces need to be held for everyone at all times, as long as they are, you know, good people, productive people that view everyone as equals, because we're people. And space needs to be removed from people who do things like this to other people. Not knowing what to do is the hardest part for me, because there was nothing I could do beforehand, right? It's not like I knew what was going on and decided not to do anything behind the scenes. But now that I do know, I'm like, yo, who do I reach out to? Who do I donate to? Whose thing do I sign? So if anybody has any information there or wants to reach out, or if we just need to sit here and talk for even longer, like I'm okay with all of it, because it's horrible. I don't really have a good enough word to convey how bad everything that's going on is. And I hope and pray that it is only as bad as we know right now. Because if it's worse, I don't really know how I'd react to it.
I feel you big time on that. You know, not knowing what to do, because you don't want to quit the game. You don't want to quit supporting the people who aren't involved with this. You know, because the people who make Hearthstone are good people. We know these people. But then how do you protest? How do you support the game knowing that what's going on at ABK is still going on? And one of the current employees at Blizzard really spoke to this. She said, if I just quit my job and walked away in protest because I didn't want to be involved with this exactly what you said, Siimba. It's just one less voice. It's less power to the people who have the power to come to unionize and collectively push back against the C-suite at Blizzard, not really at Blizzard, at Activision. And you don't want to leave those people behind. You know, if you care about the product, you need to stay and fight for it. You need to say, if everyone quits, then it's just leaving it in the state that it's in now, and that's not what we want. We want it to change. That's why we're angry about it, and that's why we're not going anywhere. You know, you're right. It's tough to know how to protest. It's tough to know how to push back, especially not being employees and not being there directly involved with things. But we're the customers, we're the consumers. We should have a say in this as well. We should have a say in knowing that the product that we consume is being made ethically. You know, that's something that I want. It's important to me. I want to know that the people who made this card game are treated well, are paid well, have representation in the workplace. They enjoy their jobs and they're not subject to abuse when they're trying to do their jobs. So I think it's important to stay. Siimba, I think you're right. I think it's important that we find a way to fight without just giving up on this.
Yeah, I feel that exact same way. This is definitely, I mean, like you said, this is, even as a content creator, I mean, I've been struggling with this off and on for years. Every time that any kind of, you know, gender thing gets brought up, you know, I'm right in the middle of that, right? And as a creator, I've had people send me DMs or other crap being like, I can't believe you're still supporting them, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, you don't have to, but it's my choice to, because you know what? I love the game. Like over, especially this year, I have been following more and more and more people that work at Blizzard, not only on the Hearthstone team, but the esports side of Blizzard, even some other games. And, you know, all those people that I've been following, like, that's what it all comes down to, right? They're people just like us. Without the people there making the game, putting in that work every day, you're not going to have card reveals. So all the people that are out there like, oh, who cares about all this? Just give me the cards. Okay, well, if the company shuts down or all the people that make your damn card leave, you're not going to have any fucking cards to get during the reveals. So I'm tired of seeing that shit. I'm just going to put that out there because that is so tone deaf and just, they absolutely do not give a shit about other people. So to see that kind of stuff just really pisses me off. It's like, you just don't give even 1 ounce of care about anybody else. And if you really feel that way about the game and it's literally only for the cards and absolutely nothing else for you, maybe you can just go. Honestly, like, just go ahead. Go to some other game. Because I guarantee you, there's shit happening at all those other companies too. It may not be as public. It may not be as bad as it is right now at Blizzard. But there are issues and there are things happening at every single company, whether it's gaming or anything else. It's happening. So if you choose to leave Hearthstone, that's your choice. If you choose to leave Blizzard, you know, all that is your choice as well. But it's happening in so many places. And I know, like you guys have said as well, for me, I love Hearthstone. I love the competitive side. I love HS esports. I have loved so many of the people that I've connected with, whether that's community or people that work at Blizzard. I love seeing their personal thoughts and, you know, getting during these difficult times when they post about their feelings and what's going on. It's heart-wrenching. I cannot imagine what they're going through right now. I mean, I feel like it's difficult and I've had a lot of like anxiety and stress looking at the news and stuff, like every time this pops up, just as a creator. I can't imagine having to go into work and deal with that every single day, every minute that I'm there, have to worry about that on top of also trying to still do my work and produce content. It's incredible. But at the end of the day, they are still people, and for them to be put through the ringer like this because people at the top just care about money and don't give a shit about the people. It's infuriating. It's heart-wrenching. And I know for me, even like I was already working towards a lot of things personally and trying to start already planning a lot of my goals and things that I want to do like next year. And seeing this, like as the founder and CEO of Amberflight Gaming, I am even like, okay, what can I like? I feel like I'm a decent leader, but I'm still already like, okay, what changes can I be making? What can I be doing even more for the crew and the members of AFG? Like, how can I take this above and beyond to do even more for them, because they deserve it. They put in hard work all the time, and you know, in order to continue to put out that good work and that content, like we've seen, I mean, Hearthstone, like the Hearthstone team puts out so much content consistently. especially if you look at like the Hearthstone compared to some of the other Blizzard games, the Hearthstone team puts out so much consistent content. It's crazy. And I want to be able to continue supporting that for a long, long time and share my passion and joy for the game and all of that. So absolutely, we're going to be here. And I think I've seen some posts from people, but, you know, I think for people like us, the big thing is just speaking on it, us bringing attention to it, sharing our feelings, drawing attention to changes that need made is how we can help in that protest and stand up. And, you know, the changes that need to be made at the top of Activision-Blizzard, unfortunately, we really can't do anything. That's going to be on like the shareholders and the people who really have the control over being able to make those changes. There's not really anything like that we can do, but us being able to share our voices, talk about it like this, I think is a huge thing. And I feel like that's what we can do. And I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do that.
You know, there is actually one thing that I know for sure that we have the power to do, and not just us, but everybody listening. When the news first hit back in July of all the abuses that were happening at Activision Blizzard, the employees of Activision Blizzard formed the union. They started organizing and protesting as a group, staging strikes, staging walkouts. That's had an effect. That's the kind of stuff that gets shareholders paying attention, because when you can't produce a product, you don't make any money. And it's a tremendous sacrifice for anyone who's relying on that job to put food on the table or to make rent, especially in Irvine, California. I know what the cost of living is there. So I know everybody who works at Blizzard, who does the everyday work there, sacrificed a lot to walk out on their jobs and protest. The number one first thing we can do is support the union at Blizzard and show our support either vocally or monetarily or anything else we can do. Anything that's in your power to do, support the union, because that's the only way that you can get change made for the workers by the workers in a big corporation like that. Because and I'm going to diverge a little bit here into workplace culture for a sec. Human resources is not your friend. Okay, I know that's the way human resources is created, but human resources departments exist largely to protect the company from you, because they know that when workers work together, that's when they have power. So human resources will divide and conquer. They'll sit you down one at a time, mediate, do all that other stuff, because they know if they can handle you one at a time, you don't have the power to fight back. So forget all that noise. If you're having a problem at your workplace, form a union or join a union, one of the two. It don't even have to be a formal union. Even if you just stage a group or walk out on the job, walk out if you have to. Stand up for yourself. And that's what we need to do. We need to help and support the Activision Blizzard workers who formed that union to fight back against the corporate power that was abusing them for so long. So that's what we can do together. We can help that union.
Okay. Any other thoughts or additions that anybody wants to make on that?
Not right now.
Okay. Well, we're going to... I want to shout out and throw out another really exciting thing that I hope everybody can help support as well. And this is another way that I will be trying to help show my support. But I was invited to join the casting desk for Friday for the Masters Tour this weekend. It is the last Masters Tour of the year, and it's only one of the 3 days, but I am so excited still. So you will see me casting throughout the day on Friday, and I'm not stepping away from that because of all of this, because like I said, I love the game. I love the esports side of it, and I want to continue sharing my passion, standing up and showing that I appreciate everything that the development team and the esports team is doing for the game, and also for including more women in casting and tournaments and things like that. So I am absolutely still doing that, and I am so excited for that. So I would love if you all could hang out in the YouTube channel on Friday and, and kind of like cheer me on, show your thanks as well to the team for really helping bring those opportunities.
Yeah, they must like you. They brought you back again.
I know.
This is your third cast with them, I think.
Second for the
second.
Yeah, I did one day during the Americas Grandmasters over last season, and then
Gotcha.
I'll be doing this. So yeah, I'm hoping it's the start of even more. I definitely I love casting. Like I said multiple times, I love the game. I love the tournament stuff, and one thing that a lot of people may or may not know about me, depending on how long you've known me, but I'm definitely somebody who, like, I never really had a passion for anything. I struggle to, like, stick with stuff for a long period of time. I really start to get burnt out on things or lose interest in things very quickly. And Hearthstone is, outside of my marriage, Hearthstone is the only thing that I've done for a long period of time. And that is, I've played since beta. And if anything, the longer I play, just the more and more involved I get. And that is very, like, opposite of everything else that I usually do in my life. So that's why it's so important to me to be a part of all of this and continue, supporting, because it really has been something that I enjoy, I connect with. I found a community where I feel like I'm actually a part of something, and that's why these things are so important to me. So, sometimes I come across as like, I'm super over the top, or I'm cringy, or whatever. It's
whatever.
Because that's how I feel. So, I don't care if I'm cringy. I like to say, like, I'm corny and I'm cheesy, but that's okay, because I like food and I like cheese and corn, and it's fine. I'm just going to continue being cheesy and corny. There you go. So yes, I am super excited for some casting. It's Master Source, so it's standard. But did you guys get a chance to watch at least some of the, holy crap, there was so much tournament, the Hearthstone Global Invitational?
Barely. There was so much, and I still missed most of it.
I'm so mad that we really don't have time to talk about it today. Like, we really need to talk about this other stuff, but we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. I promise. Yeah, it's what we love.
We wanted to do more of a deep dive into it, which hopefully we can do a little bit more talk about it next week. But then all of this came up, and it definitely felt very important that we talk about this. Plus, I wasn't expecting those several buffs either. So, yeah, but it was a great tournament. Definitely recommend people trying to go back and watch some of those VODs. And then hopefully we'll get to talk about it a little bit more next week. I'd imagine there's probably going to be a little bit less news next week. So, yes.
Well, we hope so. Or let it be good news and not more bad news.
Yeah, exactly. Well, either of you have anything else that you want to talk about, or we want to kind of mention before we start to wrap things up for today?
Oof.
Drink your water.
Drink water, please.
That's what got me on Drink Your Water. Listen to the podcast. Be nice to people.
Be kind. It costs you nothing to be kind, really. It's not hard. I got a DM today from somebody I don't like, and he said, "Why haven't you killed yourself yet?" I'm like, I'm not even going to acknowledge that with a response, because I'm living my best life, and you're a sad little man who has nothing better to do. But hey, you know what? I got good news. I got sort of good. I can't quite say it. I haven't signed on a dotted line yet, folks, but I have a job in gaming. I mean, I already have a job in gaming, but like, I got a big offer from a big company, from a card game company that you have probably heard of that's not Hearthstone. It's really exciting. And like, we're probably moving across the country soon. So I can't say yet because I haven't signed the dotted line, but I am so excited about this. And I'm going to be able to be touching the lives of a lot of you who got started playing with paper cardboard. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about by now, if you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know.
Yeah. Tell me without telling me.
I'm going to tell you that
Way to go.
we're going to gather and have a magical conversation about this new job that I'm about to start in 3 weeks.
Well, it is very exciting. We're very happy for you. Can't wait.
It's gonna be fun. You're right. Congrats.
All right. Well, how do you feel about wrapping it up for this week? There was a lot to talk about. Some good, some not so good, but we're going to talk about it, and next week we're going to get to hopefully dive into some more gameplay type stuff, but thank you all for hanging out and chatting if you've made it this far. Really do appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about where you can find us. Mentioned it earlier. If you want to give us suggestions on what you'd love to see, segments you want us to put in the show, anything like that, you can find our episodes on YouTube, everywhere that you can find audio podcasts, and give us those suggestions, or, just tell us we're doing a great job and keep going. You can do all of that on Twitter at SpiritHealerPod, or send us an email at spirithealerpodcast@gmail.com. And join in our discussions in our Discord. It's growing a little bit at a time. I love to see it, but we're definitely trying to get that more active, so we should have a link in the show notes and on our Twitter page for that as well. We want to thank Purple Cat for the use of the amazing music that we use for the show, and to find more from each of us, you can find me on Twitter at DawnieDK. That's DAWNIEDK. Find me on Twitch and YouTube, dragonrider DK. Every week talking standard Hearthstone over at the Dr. 3 HS podcast. And also this Friday, November 19th, or via the VOD on YouTube. Find me casting the Masters Tour Undercity. So excited. Okay. Thank you for letting me get that out. All right. Cinder, where can we find more from you?
It's all on the Twitter. It's at Cinder Ascendant. Now that I got my Howard Beale moment out, I'm a little cooled down. So let's have a fun conversation, maybe about the new cards that got previewed for Fractured and Alterac. That's exciting. For the Horde, no arguments.
For the Horde, yes, let's go. All right, Siimba, where can everybody find all of your glorious content?
Dope. All right. All platforms at Siimba TV _. 2 I's, SIIMBA TV _. Siimba TV, no underscore on YouTube. And if I find anywhere else to put myself, I'll let you guys know.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for listening, especially to this important episode. And thank you for choosing us as your resting place of choice.